Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this from. This is my Formula 1 Monaco 3 review. Obviously, from the Monaco 3 at the famous 3 where you can't overtake, and we did not see any overtakes in the race, I thought. But we did see an exciting qualifying session and probably an exciting start to the race. Probably not for the right reasons, but Charles Leclerc wins in his home 3. Third time lucky. Third time lucky for Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari as he wins in his home 3 of Monaco. Becoming the first driver from Monaco to win the Monaco 3. I thought. And it makes things quite interesting, doesn't it? In terms, are the cards now falling at Red Bull? It's now starting to form at Red Bull as Red Bull continue to struggle. As Red Bull, that's 3 3s in a row where you think to yourself, they've actually not been convincing, have they? They've really not been convincing, despite Verstappen winning in the last weekend. And maybe this was just a 3, but this has always been a 3 that has managed to cut out Red Bull, to be fair. So, but yeah, starting off with Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc in first, Sainz in third. Basically, the top 10 was the top 10 in qualifying. No, there was no overtakes where you, no overtaking where you, because no overtaking opportunities. McLaren did hang on Ferrari's coattails for the majority of the race, but then Charles Leclerc just put his foot down and managed to get away from Oscar Piastri. And but Carlos Sainz got out of jail, didn't he? Carlos Sainz got out of jail on opening lap, of course, where he suffered a puncher with a TSM with Piastri into the first corner. It was only a minor TSM, but it was enough to give him a puncher. And Sainz suffered a puncher. Obviously, after that, we had the red flag, of course, and with the incidents of Ocon and Dacier, and obviously the incidents between Perez, Magnussen, and Hulkenberg after turn one, going off that hill. Which is, for me, in my opinion, this was Terry Magnussen's fault, in my opinion. I think you have to blame Terry Magnussen for that, because even little Hulkenberg was even livid with his teammate. Stupidity. It really is stupidity. Sergio Perez is coming to the right. He's closing that gap down on the right hand side. And what does Terry Magnussen try to do? Tries to go for the gap. Where he's not gonna fit through that gap. Absolutely no chance, and Magnussen needs to pull out, in my opinion. But he doesn't pull out. He tosses his teammate his weight. But I'm not being funny. With the way Monaco is, maybe he hasn't really tossed his teammate really, because it was always going to be a hard struggle for Hats, who were both starting from the back of the grid, due to obviously they weren't standing. Both of them did make it through to qualifying too, but obviously both of them had to start from the back of the grid in the race. But it did cost Sergio Perez's race, and even though Perez had a bad race, had a bad weekend enough, it got even worse. Horrific crash with Perez. Basically nothing of the tar, yeah, was there? Nothing of the tar, yeah. So we're all glad that Sergio Perez is okay. It was quite a horrific crash, and I think it's a weekend to forget for Perez in the Red Bull, especially in the circuit where you would have thought Perez would have suited Monaco, because he does love his street circuit courts. But he just struggled, didn't he, in qualifying, and don't knock down qualifying 1. Obviously, I did a qualifying watch on for it. And the next incident was Esteban Ocon and Pierre Dacier, the two teammates. And I've been waxing lyrical about the improvements at Alpine. I've been waxing lyrical about the improvements at Alpine. And for me, it was Esteban Ocon's fault. Then trying to lunge. He basically tried to lunge on the inside of his teammate. When then Dazi closed the gap. Had that gap closed, and Ocon decides to put in lunge inside of him. And obviously Ocon went flying, didn't he? Went flying with his car, and that caused damage to his car. But that was Ocon's own fault for me. That was Ocon's own fault, and why is he fighting with his teammate? I mean, that's the only problem at Alpine, isn't it? That's the only problem with Alpine, isn't it? Both of them still fight each other on the track, fighting each other on the track when they shouldn't be. But luckily, it didn't cost Dazzi his weight. To be fair, luckily it didn't cost Dazzi's luckily it didn't cost Dazzi his weight, as per Dazzi did that in the points in that Alpine thoughts. Well, Esteban Ocon had to DNF. But yeah, and that was pretty much it in terms of the race. We did have a safety car. Sorry, we did have a red flag after that Madsen Perez Hulkenberg incident, which means obviously all the cards could take a cheap, could change the tyres basically for free. Could change the tyres for free, really. A cheap pit stop for Oldham. And which meant the likes of Charles Leclerc, Piastri, Sainz, and Norris, for example, who started on the medium tyres, could go onto the hard tyres and wouldn't have to stop again. And they used their tyres really well. And but for me, my drive of the day for me is George Russell. It's George Russell for me. For keeping Max Verstappen behind him, because I do feel George Russell was on the medium tyres for quite a long time. Was quite on the mediums for quite a long time, and the medium tyres only last about 50 odd laps. I think it is 50 odd laps. The medium tyres. I think it was 50 odd laps. The mediums and that. So, but anyways, he did a good job, George Russell, to make them tyres that and to defend really well against Max Verstappen. At a track where he can't overtake, so Max Verstappen had it all to do, really, let's be real. And I would say that's a good weekend for George Russell. Very good race result for George Russell. Started 5th and ended up 5th, George Russell. So kept hold of his position. And he was backing Verstappen up into Lewis Hamilton, wasn't he? And but yeah, it was it. But it was mainly a game of chess, wasn't it, between McLaren and Ferrari? It was a game of chess between McLaren and Ferrari and when to pit, if they were going to pit then. It was about who made the first move, and none of them made the first move. Charles Leclerc and Ferrari decided to stick with it, and keep hold of the track position, which was important. And for once, Ferrari didn't mess up a race. And you have to say it was a successful weekend for Ferrari and Charles Leclerc. But hey, Charles Leclerc finally having a successful weekend and not messing it up. Miracles can happen, and yeah, well deserved win in this home race as well for Charles Leclerc. And a nice strategic tactical battle between Ferrari and McLaren in the battle for the race win, of course. So that is the full classification then. Jans, but I mean, obviously the grid was after the red flag after the red flag, the grid was back to grid order from the start of the race, which I didn't. For me, I didn't agree with that at all. I reckon the grid should have been after the red flag. The grid should have been what it should have been, like on the red flag, in my opinion. Maybe that's me being biased to Lando Norris and trying to get Norris on the podium. But if Norris was third, I'd start after the red flag. Then all of a sudden that might have changed things, and Charles Leclerc might have been under whose pressure to win in his own Form 3. But it is what it is. It's part of the rules still, isn't it? It's part of the rules. You can either go for the grid that started before lights out, or you go for the grid that ended on the red flag. It was one of them, and Lance Stroll was unlucky on that as well. So yeah, but that was the full classification. The top 10, obviously, all got in the points, and that was basically the top 10 that was in qualifying as well. So there was not much change in terms of the grid, in terms of like who got in the points. And but yeah, we will now see what that means for the drivers and the constructors' championship, which means Red Bull. The gap has closed on Red Bull from Ferrari to 24 points. The gap's now 24 points. So it takes one DNF from Red Bull. It takes one DNF from a driver, and all of a sudden that gap will close again. Makes it interesting now. Is the gap now closing? At the start of the season, we all thought Red Bull were going to run away with it again. But it's getting interesting now. It is getting interesting. Because that's 3 Grand Prix in the row for Red Bull, and they've not been convincing at all. I mean, look, I still think Red Bull will win the constructors, and I still think Max Verstappen will still win the title this season. But it's done be more closer now, in my opinion. It is done be more closer. It's done be more closer now, in my opinion. So McLaren, they added more points and starting to move away from Mercedes, and maybe starting to join that battle with Red Bull and Ferrari for the top 3. Mercedes got some nice points, Mercedes, to pull themselves away from Aston Martin. Please pass up RB. Lucky Tsunoda continues to store points. And they're still in 6th and adding more points now. Obviously, no points for Haas this weekend, so they stay in 7th. Alex Albon got points at Haas, didn't he? He got points in the Williams in Monaco. So Williams picked up their first points of the season with Alex Albon and up to 8th. Alpine in 9th with the 2 points. So Sauber are the only team to not store points yet this season, and now the only team not store points. In terms of the Drivers' Championship, Charles Leclerc has closed the gap to 27. I think that's right. No, sorry, 31 points. So it's still a bit daft for Verstappen, to be fair. Still a bit daft for him, but Charles Leclerc might prove to be a massive win for him. Lando Norris moved up to 3rd in the driving standards above Carlos Sainz. Sergio Perez dropped down 2 places to 5th after a disappointing weekend for him in Monaco. Piastri 6th, Russell 7th, Hamilton 8th, Alonso 9th, Lucky Tsunoda 10th. Stroll in the 11th, Ollie Berman 12th, Hulkenberg 13th, Ricardo 14th, Albon 15th, Ocon 16th, Martin 17th, Dazi 18th, and Joe Guan Yu, Bottas, and Jordan Sargent are still the only drivers not to store points yet this season. And yeah, and that is it. And that is it for my Formula 1 Monaco Grand Prix review. I will be back. My next preview will be for the Canadian Grand Prix, we will be heading to Canada next. So then it's going to be interesting now. Can Red Bull make themselves more convincing again in Canada, or all of a sudden is it game on? Is it game on in terms of both constructors and the drivers' championship? Yes, see what happens in Canada. But I'll join you all there for my Canada 1-3 preview. So take care, stay safe, and feel free to leave your thoughts down below in the comments on the Monaco